Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Heart for PCOS Instagram Live. Today, we are doubling the fun. We're inviting back Martha McKittrick and Ginny Silvestro. We had a live earlier this month, but the live unfortunately had some technical difficulties, so we wanted to give people an opportunity to really get to learn from Ginny and Martha, and we are doing this live again, and I am going to add both of them to the live. So excited that they're coming on. So excited to see everybody here this evening. We've had a month long of some really great events and lives, and I always love an opportunity to see these two ladies more than once in a month. So hello, Martha. Hello, Ginny. Thank you for joining me again. And hopefully my microphone is working this time and we'll be able to get through this.
Hey,
how are you both?
Good. Nice to see you, Ashley and Ginny. Ginny, we all have our red on, of course.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's almost like we planned this or something, you know?
I know.
So I know a lot of people were tuned into our last live, but for those who weren't and who may not know the two of you, I would love to give you both an opportunity to introduce yourselves and tell everyone a little bit about how you got into the PCOS space. So Ginny, I'm going to start with you.
Hello. Well, I am someone who was diagnosed with PCOS almost, oh my gosh, 20 years ago at this point, somewhere close to there. So I've been living with this most of my life because I'm about 45 now. But I am also someone who has a certification in personal training, behavior change, and a background in phys ed and health. So I took a good chunk of my life and started teaching. And after my children were born, I decided to jump into this personal training thing and didn't initially intend to specialize in people that have PCOS, but here I am now. I figured I'd get back to the community and something I love.
Every time you
that's
try to get out, we just pull you right back in, right, Jenny?
Literally.
Literally. Yeah, exactly. This is what retirement looks like. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, Martha, how are you this evening?
Good. Thanks so much for having me on.
Sure.
So a little bit about me. I'm a registered dietitian, and I've been practicing nutrition for over 25 years. I have a very varied background. I was on staff at a major New York City hospital where I kind of went through all the different areas. I worked at a cardiac health center, so I have a very strong background in cardiac health. So I'm really interested in our topic tonight. And I've been specializing in PCOS since the year 2000. I kind of just stumbled into it. I was working for a message board for WebMD, and I kind of met somebody on there who had PCOS, and I had just I just had heard of it before, but I didn't know much about it. I mean, this was like over 25 years ago. And then I found it a fascinating topic that I saw that nutritional lifestyle could have such an effect on helping people with PCOS. So that's been my main specialty really for over 20 years. And I'm also a certified diabetes educator, and I have a virtual practice, so I work with people everywhere. But I love the topic of PCOS and heart health.
Absolutely. And honestly, Martha, you were really one of the pioneers of PCOS nutrition because you started your journey probably around the same time that I started mine, which I will not date us and not say how long ago that was, but it was quite a while ago. So so we're here tonight talking about PCOS as part of the 10th anniversary for Heart for PCOS. So why is this important? A lot of times with PCOS, the focus is on solely reproductive health, which is fine because it impacts reproductive health and it impacts our fertility. But we also need to realize that there's a whole nother part of PCOS, which is metabolic, hormonal, and psychological. And when we forget about some of those other aspects, we could be in trouble potentially because we're not optimizing our health and looking at risk factors that can come along with PCOS, such as diabetes, such as cardiovascular disease. So we're going to start with the fundamentals, which are lifestyle management for PCOS, and talk a little bit about both what Ginny and Martha do and ways we can optimize our health to reduce these future risks. So for both of you, and I'm going to give both of you a chance to chime in on this, Why should lifestyle management be the foundation when we start our journey with PCOS as far as our health and making a care plan? And Ginny, I'm going to start with you.
You know, I think because it's the easiest and cheapest way to do it. It's one of the best reasons. But really, because PCOS is a lifelong illness, and it's something that we're going to have to deal with for a very long time. You know, there's a lot of talk that, oh, it ends, and we know that that's not true. You know, it's something that you really do live with for a long time, and different things in your body change as you get older and as your hormones shift. So, you know, management with exercise, management with nutrition, it really, it's one of the best and easiest ways to kind of help you along, to help your heart health and kind of keep everything balanced.
Absolutely. Martha, what are your thoughts?
I think too oftentimes people with PCOS are given a prescription for a birth control pill and metformin and just told to lose weight. And like, not everybody wants to go on medications, and not everybody needs to go on medications, and not everybody needs to lose weight or wants to think about losing weight. So I like to think about nutrition as really, like you said, the foundation. I mean, maybe you do need a medication at some point, but you really want to start with nutrition, because think about like all the risks that come with PCOS. You know, there's more inflammation, there's increased risk of diabetes and heart disease and fatty liver, sleep apnea, and really with all of those, you can greatly decrease your risk of all those health conditions with nutrition and lifestyle. And then if you need a medication later on, that's fine. But you really want to start with nutrition and lifestyle.
Absolutely. So what can we say to people who have been dealing with PCOS, who say, I've pretty much tried everything, I'm not losing weight, I'm not feeling better, I don't feel comfortable in my skin, so I really shouldn't care? Why is that kind of like a red flag? Why do we need to care about PCOS, even though it gets frustrating and difficult at times? Ginny?
I think because the risk factors are really there for your health issues to become worse. It's not just about PCOS. It's about what having PCOS can do to the rest of your body to cause other health risks, such as stroke, heart disease, high blood pressure, you know. And I'm just saying, you know, the ones that are focused on heart health, because that's what we're talking about. But as Martha mentioned before, we have liver issues that can deal with cholesterol and causing more problems with our heart circulation. There's just a lot there.
Yeah, you know, and I'm glad you brought up liver, because I did a Facebook Live the other day, and Dr. Catherine Sharif, who is phenomenal fountain of knowledge when it comes to PCOS, had mentioned that one of the highest risk groups for liver transplant are patients with PCOS. So, I mean, we're talking about the heart disease, but yeah, if we let our hormones go and the insulin is running high, the androgens are running high, the inflammation is running high for periods of time, yeah, you're going to have issues with other health complications. Martha, what are your thoughts on this?
I think sometimes people get frustrated because they don't notice a difference, like you said, right? Maybe they're not losing weight, or maybe they don't think they feel different. I think it's really important that you maybe start to do a journal. Like, that's one of the first things I do with my private clients and the people in my course, is I have them do a journal. You know, I'm not talking about calorie counting, tracking macros in MyFitnessPal. Keep a journal, write down what you eat, the time you eat, how you feel, your energy levels, your cravings, and that kind of thing. And I mean, I can almost guarantee that if you start to pay a little more attention to lifestyle, which we'll get into more, which will be sleep, you know, doing things to help with your stress, moving your body, healthy eating, meal timing, I'm pretty sure you can increase your energy levels and feel better overall. So you want to have different, I guess, barometers on how you want to judge your progress. So like one measurement of progress could be that you have better energy levels, that you're not as moody, that you're sleeping a little bit better. And then you can also, you know, look, which I'm sure Ginny will talk about, is how your clothes fit. You know, maybe you're losing inches, maybe you're not losing weight on the scale, but you're getting more compact and more narrow. And then also keeping track of blood work, which I know we'll get into. Keep track of your cholesterol, because sometimes maybe you don't lose weight, but you've dropped your cholesterol significantly. You've dropped your blood sugar, you've dropped your hemoglobin A1C or triglycerides. So it can come from different areas. It's not just about weight. But look at all these different areas. And I really think keeping a journal is the first place that people should start.
Absolutely. So I do want to get into really a little bit more about why we need lifestyle management and your particular specialties. A lot of patients, especially when we're talking about heart disease, are often saying to me, I don't need to worry about that. I'm in my teens, I'm in my 20s, I'm in my 30s. Why are you talking to me about heart disease? And what you don't realize is, again, with PCOS, and I'm going to say these three things because these are the three factors that impact cardiovascular health at young ages: inflammation, insulin resistance, androgen excess. Those all start when you start seeing symptoms of PCOS. That could be at 8 years old, 11 years old, in your teens. So you're starting to develop those risk factors for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, plaque deposits, which can clog your arteries. So we have to be aware of this stuff at younger ages with PCOS. And because of that, again, lifestyle management plays a really big role in this. So Ginny, how can movement, and I say movement because not everybody's into full force exercise, but why is movement so important in helping with inflammation, insulin resistance, and androgen excess?
Well, movement in general is just going to help your body process what's going on inside better. When we, a lot of times you're going to hear me talk about strength training, but it's not always about strength training. It really is about movement and just making sure that your body is active. Your metabolism is moving, your body systems are working well so that, your hormones are doing what they're supposed to do. And, the reason that I keep saying something like that is because you're not always going to feel what's going on. The question you had before was, well, I'm not feeling any different. Well, you're not going to feel any different if you change your cholesterol level number. You're not going to feel any different. You're not going to notice if your blood pressure is high. That I was actually stuck in that position after I had my third child, and my blood pressure was through the roof probably for about a month and a half, and I had no idea because my hormones were off postpartum. Those are just things in general that are just going to improve as we move.
I love that
term.
Yeah.
But really what's going to happen is you're going to be able to lower your blood pressure because you're taking less pressure off the arteries when your circulation improves. When you're adding more muscle, you're going to be able to lower your insulin levels and make your blood sugar even out. But in turn, that is not just helping what's going on with your pancreas and your blood sugar levels, but you might see improvement in what's going on with your liver also. There's a lot of things that are intertwined that are going to take effect on one system and move to another body system. So, a lot of people get very focused on, oh, I just want to lose weight, or they're told, I just want to lose weight. They don't realize that all this stuff comes into play. All this stuff has to even out and balance before any of that happens.
So, Martha, from a nutrition perspective,
Can I just say something about to Ginny for a sec? Because Ginny, you and I have done a lot of Instagram lives about exercise and all that. And I think there's so much confusion online. It's like, what is the best exercise for PCOS? And people are getting fights. Like, I've had some really nasty comments on my page when I've done a post like, high intensity exercise has benefits for PCOS, and people will get angry. No, it's going to spike your cortisol. It's bad. Because there were some people on Instagram who were saying you should only go low and slow, and there's all these rules for exercise. If you have this type of exercise, this type of PCOS, you should do this type of exercise. You know what? Don't listen to any of that. What Ginny and I always say is move your body, find an exercise that makes you feel good. And you can find a study for any type of exercise. I mean, there are studies out there for intense, vigorous exercise. There's studies out there for more calming exercise. There's studies out there for yoga. all exercise has benefits. So like Ginny says, move your body. I guess ideally there would be a strength training component and a cardio component, but just move, get up and walk and move.
Yeah.
That's my thing. That's my soapbox, because it drives me crazy, all these rules. No wonder why people don't want to exercise, because they're afraid. They think they're doing something wrong and it's going to make your PCOS worse. Listen to your body. If something's too intense, your body will know it. Like Ginny, you tell your story when you were training for marathons or something. You said it was too much for you and it kind of jacked up your testosterone. So it wasn't good for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's intensity level is going to differ based on their abilities and based on their past experience and relationship with exercise. So there are certain people that are going to be able to go out there and run a marathon, no problem. And there's going to be other people where, you know, they're going to have a problem maybe just walking 2 miles. So you really have to base it on you and your individuality and where your body is at that given moment. Because
absolutely.
that can change over time.
Martha, that also kind of holds true for nutrition as well. A lot of people have battles over the foods you should eat and shouldn't eat, and the different, that this diet is better than that diet. So I mean, it's a lot to take in, and I think you hit the nail on the head that the process has to be individualized. For people. And I think also people have to understand, or at least what I try to tell myself is, nutrition isn't about always restriction and diet. It's more about nourishing your body with the right foods, right?
Totally.
So can you talk a little bit more about that?
That's kind of one of my mantras, is thinking about what you can add into your diet versus supposedly what you should cut out, you know, supposedly. Like there's no data that you have to cut out gluten and dairy. If you choose to do that, fine. But so think about what you can add into your body. And when it comes to heart health and nutrition, kind of the biggest things that you can do is add in foods that are anti-inflammatory, because heart disease starts with inflammation in the body. So you have your blood vessel, and when there's inflammation in the blood vessel, that can eventually increase plaque, which can lead to blockages and all that. So you want to start with an anti-inflammatory diet. And I think everybody will agree with that, right? So, you know, do you have enough vegetables in your diet? You know, leafy greens and different kinds of fruits and berries. Try and get some fatty fish into your diet. Whole grains versus white or processed grains. Not saying you can't have white grains, that's fine too. But add these healthy things into your diet. You know, olive oil. And there are lots of studies behind these foods, kind of like the Mediterranean style diet. It's just very anti-inflammatory. So that's the first thing I would kind of say. Most of us do not have enough vegetables. You know, vegetables are hard to eat, and especially if you're busy. And also there's this whole kind of phobia with PCOS that you have to be in a low carb diet. And I think a lot of people are loading up on tons of protein and maybe fat, and they're just not getting in enough vegetables or whole grains for that matter. So don't be afraid, have some. You know, I'm not a carb pusher, but have some. So that's the first thing I would say, is add these foods into your diet. And then the second thing is, you know, you want to choose healthier types of fats. You want to try and choose definitely fats from an animal, from a plant, I guess kind of basis, like, you know, olive oil, nuts and seeds, nut butter, avocado. You can have red meat, that's fine. But you don't want to load up on tons and tons and tons of fatty red meat. It does have saturated fat. And I know it's kind of debatable in the world right now, is saturated fat bad or is it not bad for cholesterol? I think it will depend on the individual person. In general, I do tell people to limit saturated fat. I'm not fanatical with it. You know, there are different types of saturated fat. Some saturated fat comes from full fat dairy, which might act differently in the body than the kind of saturated fat you get in like fatty red meat and butter. Like, I'm not opposed to some full fat dairy, not a ton, but some. So adding in the vegetables, the fruits, the whole grains, the healthy fats, some fatty fish. Fiber is a really, really big thing. And that's because I do a lot of work with people who have high cholesterol. And one of the biggest things I push, I feel like I should have like an F like on my forehead, like fiber. Fiber does so many cool things to help decrease risk of heart disease. It binds to cholesterol. It helps your body absorb less cholesterol. It binds to bile acids, so you make less cholesterol. It can help improve gut health, which will also help with overall heart health and cholesterol. And then it helps, of course, with inflammation and insulin and blood sugar. So fiber really is a huge thing for this heart health.
Yeah, let me ask you a question about fiber, Martha. With fiber, does it matter whether you're getting it from different food sources like vegetables, or whether you're taking like psyllium like in a pill form? Does it matter?
That's a great question. Fiber is a really complicated topic. There are many different kinds of fiber. You know, there's fermentable fiber, there's insoluble fiber. So it's a really complicated topic, but to kind of keep it simple, I think trying to get a lot of your fiber from foods, and especially the fermentable type of fiber, or we call it soluble fiber, that has the most powerful effect of lowering cholesterol. And that's the kind of fiber you get in like anything from oats, you get it in flax seeds, you get it in like fruits like apples and pears, you get it in sweet potatoes like broccoli, asparagus. So those kind of foods have a ton of soluble fiber. Most people can't get to the goal I like them to get to. I like people to get to at least 12 grams or more of soluble fiber a day. Total fiber, I would love to see 25 grams or more, if your gut can handle it. Not everybody can handle it. Like, I don't want you to blow your intestines up. Oh, I forgot beans. Beans have a ton of soluble fiber. So I'd like you to get it mostly from food, but I'm a huge fan of psyllium, like you said. They've done so many studies on psyllium. Like if you go into PubMed or just Google psyllium, and it's spelled for the people listening in, it's spelled PSYLLIUM, not with an S, so PSY. So Google psyllium and LDL cholesterol. You'll find tons of studies on there. It significantly lowers cholesterol. I don't know if I have my little cheat sheet up here to say how much. It's something like, okay, let me read it. So psyllium, 10 grams a day from psyllium can lower total cholesterol by 4%, LDL by 7%. That's a lot, actually.
That is a lot.
Yeah, and that comes to about 2 or 3 teaspoons a day of psyllium. So huge fan of psyllium. So actually, yes, I would say a combination, mainly food, but supplementing with some supplements like psyllium. And something like a citrusel has cellulose in it. It's not the same thing as psyllium. So look for psyllium.
Awesome. Now, one of the other things that we talk about, that the three of us have talked about a lot, is sustainability. So, Ginny, when it comes to exercise, I know we need to find things that we enjoy doing, but some people stick to one particular type of exercise and that's it. When we're talking about PCOS, in particular cardiovascular health, is it okay to stick with one exercise, or should people try to mix it up a little bit to get more benefits out of exercising?
Well, it's good to mix different types of exercise together for several different reasons. They're going to have different benefits. So, you know, we talked strength training before. You're going to build lean muscle mass. It's going to help your body out and help distribute your blood sugar a little bit better. But adding cardio exercise is going to help your circulatory system. It's actually going to exercise your heart. But then we've also talked about adding meditative type of activities, or yoga or something along those lines, to kind of de-stress your body. So it's nice to be able to mix and match different kinds. Now, in terms of cardio, it doesn't matter what type of cardio you like to do. If you like one certain type of cardio and it works for you, then stick with it. Great. If you want to mix,
yeah.
in one of my posts this week was something called rate of perceived effort. And you can do, you look at it at a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the absolute most difficult, you're out of breath, impossible to talk, it's extremely uncomfortable. And then you have 1, which is very, very, very easy. So what you do is you mix and match along that scale throughout your workout. So you can start your warm up somewhere around a 2 or a 3 where it's easy. And throughout that workout, say the next 2 or 3 minutes, we up it to a range between 4 and 6, which is a little bit difficult, but it's not, but you're comfortable. It's something that you can sustain for an hour or so. Not meaning that you have to work out for an hour, but you'd be able to sustain it for that long period of time. So you do that for about 2 minutes. Then you get it a little bit more intense, maybe around a 7, where you could kind of have a conversation with someone, but it might be a little bit difficult. But then we drop down again to the 4 to 6 range, where we're lowering it. And we kind of play with that for a little bit, and then we come back down to our cool down. Now, you know, you can do that one day a week. You can have another day a week where you just stay on the lower end, where you're at a 2 or 3 or a 4. Then you can have another day where you're at the higher end, where the majority of your workout is like a 6, a 7, and 8. And by doing that, we're now training our heart to be able to work at various different intensities. We're improving our circulation, and you're also improving your endurance on top of that. So you can mix that in any type of cardio activity that you want. You can do it in running, jogging, jump roping, biking, swimming, hiking, dancing, you know, whatever. There's a lot of different opportunity to use that type of scale to be able to work your heart better. So by mixing that with some type of strength training, with some type of yoga, you know, we're going to hit our heart on all different levels, making it stronger, improving circulation. And then on top of that, we're also going to decrease your chance of injury. You're not doing the same movement over and over and over again by mixing and matching with strength in different areas of your body to reduce.
I've had some clients who they saw like the workouts on TikTok, like these kind of crazy workouts. I forgot what they're called, something like 3:38 or something, and you do these really steep inclines on a treadmill for a certain amount of minutes, like crazy high and fast. Like I've had 2 people get really injured doing that, and I was like, don't do that. Like you got to build up to something like that. You got to be careful of this trendy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're bringing up another really good point that I would love to talk about with both of you, that I think a lot of times with PCOS, we feel, again, like we have to go hardcore with our nutrition and with our movement. But isn't it just as important to sometimes give ourselves grace and allow ourselves to rest, or to have a little indulgence when it comes to certain foods? I would love to hear your opinions from both of you.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think people get frustrated, you know, either they were told to lose weight by their doctor, or they've gained weight and they're frustrated and they're trying to get it off, and they have these unrealistic, unhealthy expectations of the way they should eat. Like most people cannot sustain not eating any carbohydrates. Like you will feel physically probably tired, and psychologically you feel super deprived, and oftentimes that ends up in binging. So I think you should give yourself some grace, like you said, and allow you to have some of the foods that you like. If you want to eat them on a regular basis, maybe try and mix them up a little bit to make them be a little maybe more PCOS friendly. I mean, I'm not saying to eat lasagna every night, but you could make it in a way that fit the whole PCOS plate. But yeah, I think if you're too hard on yourself and too strict, it's going to backfire, and you're going to be stuck on this horrible like hamster wheel when you're never getting anywhere, and you're always beating yourself up, and then you get demoralized, and you're never going to win if you're stuck in that kind of that stage.
Absolutely. Ginny, what are your thoughts?
You know, we use that term a lot with my clients, you know, give yourself grace. There are going to be days where you just don't feel up to doing it. Your body's tired. It's important to pay attention to the way that your body feels every single day with the movement. You know, there are going to be days where maybe you're mentally tired, but you can make it through a workout, and you feel good afterwards. But then there may be other days where you're mentally tired, or you're physically tired, you force yourself through a workout, and you feel like crap afterwards. Those are not the days to push through. Those are the days your body's telling you, when you need to listen, I need time to rest. While movement is important, it doesn't have to be done at a high intensity every single day. You just have to be consistent with what you're doing. So 3-4 times a week would be ideal, with active movement in between on those other days. And by active movement, I mean just like pay attention to what you're doing. Don't sit on the couch like a couch potato. You know, what I like to do, simple little things. I might be doing my laundry. Instead of taking it up in the laundry basket, I might divide it out and take a couple piles here, a couple piles there. So I'm going up the stairs a few more times than I normally would. I try and make it sustainable for me. And, you know, I know that I'm going to be doing this for a long time. I know that I'm probably not going to be in a place where I'm going to be exercising with heavy weights and all that stuff every single day of my life, because your body changes as you get older. You have to find different ways to move that work for you. So whether it's doing something as simple as I said with the laundry, or maybe, you know, parking a little further certain days, or taking the long way around the store and enjoying your shopping trip because you're just going a little bit further. Those are different things that we can incorporate to make sure that, you know, we're still moving, but we're listening to our body. We're taking the
What
time
about
to
things
step
like
out when we need to.
meditation and breath work? Are those as like effective with helping us with finding that grace or having some sort of movement, or like if we have an off day, kind of filling that with doing something that might be beneficial?
I'm a huge fan of meditation, but not everybody is. You know, for some people, it causes more stress trying to do it because they just don't connect to it. So, you know, it's great to say meditation. And I mean, there's a lot of studies behind meditation, which I love because I love studies that it really can help to decrease cortisol levels, you know, your stress hormones. So I think meditation is really, really good. But some people just can't get into it. But if you haven't tried it, like give it a try. You might be better off in the beginning with some of the guided meditations. There's so many great, you know, meditation apps that are even free. There's Calm. Calm has this kind of cool one. I think it might be called Panic SOS or something. It's only 4 minutes long. And if you're feeling super anxious, I've had clients who've done it and it's actually helped them because it will just slow you down. You know, it will help you with the breathing, tell you how to hold your breath in. So give it a try. But if you truly feel like you don't connect with it, you know, try to find something else, whether it be going outside and taking a walk, listening to some calming music. Like I know when I get kind of anxious sometimes, you know, I have a lot of work and I'm getting stressed about it. I will go onto YouTube and put my headphones on and listen to something called focus music. It's just this kind of calming music. And it's crazy how it can take me from my heart racing, like this adrenaline, to this much calmer state. So sometimes for me, that really helps. Some people might be reading, you know. I think sometimes scrolling on social media can be the worst. It can be the worst, but you got to find what works for you. But if you get into meditation, breath work, that's awesome.
Right. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Martha or Ginny.
I'm sorry. Back off. So I do have certain people that really are just not into it, can't deal with it. So we try and substitute it with some type of self-care that's going to take them down a notch. You know, reading quite popular with the people that I'm working with, but the listening to music, just kind of sitting in the moment and, you know, wherever they are, because it doesn't even have to be at home. Like for me, like I love sitting in the car. Like I'll pull into the driveway and I'll sit in the car for 10 minutes with the music on, close my eyes and just kind of chill. I'm like, that grounds me. That's enough to like, okay.
Yeah, I love that. So there's one more topic that I wanted to talk about because it can impact people's nutritional health and their exercise regimens, which is sleep. And Martha, I know this is a big thing for you. You talk about this a lot. So why is sleep just as important as moving your body or eating the right foods? Martha, I'm going to start with you.
Sleep is like the hot topic right now. Like sleep, I think, and the gut microbiome are two super hot topics, which we can talk about gut with heart health too. But you know, the science is showing if you don't get enough sleep, it does increase your risk of heart disease. It increases the chance of you gaining weight and staying overweight, have trouble losing weight. It can worsen your insulin resistance, increase risk of diabetes. It's just crazy how it can affect our body. And really at night, like when you're sleeping is when your body kind of cleans stuff out, like you get rid of dead cells. Just think about like cleaning the house at night. That's kind of what your body's doing. And it's helping your body heal. And the problem I think with our society now, we just don't get enough sleep. I don't know what the average hours of sleep a night, maybe it's 6 hours or something, but I have clients who sleep 5 hours a night and, you know, they're struggling with their weight and their carbohydrate cravings and their insulin resistance is worse and they have pre-diabetes. And it's like, you've got to work on your sleep. Now, I know it's really frustrating with PCOS because there are higher rates of sleep disorders. You know, there's higher rates of sleep apnea. There might be some dysregulated cortisol. Maybe the high androgens contribute to sleep problems. So it's much easier said than done to get more sleep, right? It's not so easy to do that. I personally have sleep problems and I go to a sleep doctor. I've had sleep problems for a long time. But, you know, they gave me I worked with the behaviors for a while, but working on your sleep hygiene, I kind of hate that word because it makes it sound like it's dirty in your bed or something, but working on your sleep hygiene, it does help. And you really have to start calming your brain down because you can't go.
Oh, I think we just lost.
Sorry, my batteries are dying. Being on social media, or, having the screen, the blue light kind of in your brain, from that to all of a sudden falling asleep. It's just not going to happen. So you have to start winding down. I tell people to get off the screens, hopefully 2 hours before they go to sleep. Try and read in bed, have some calming routines, and try as much as possible to go to bed and get up at the same time. I just listened to a really interesting podcast by this guy called Huberman Lab. It was on sleep, and he had an expert on there. They talked a lot about timing, and you're going to really mess your body's circadian rhythms up if you try to go to bed one night at 1 a.m., the next night at 10 a.m., you get up at 11 a.m., 7 a.m. Try as much as possible to get on a schedule. And it will really help. It will help your heart health. It will help your hormones, help your weight, help control your carbohydrate cravings. That's my spiel.
I love it. Ginny, what are your thoughts?
Not too much to add on top of that, but as Martha mentioned, it's your time for your body to recover. So believe it or not, your risk for injury increases when you don't rest your body and you try and do something the next day. You're not as sharp, you're a little bit klutzy, you may not know what you're doing, and we
absolutely. So I would love from both of you to talk a little bit about what our takeaways should be as far as lifestyle management, optimizing our health, and reducing risk for things like diabetes and cardiovascular. Martha?
I would tell people to think about PCOS is a very complex condition, and while you may be focused right now on your symptoms of your periods or hair growth or hair loss or skin issues, just keep in mind that many people have an increased risk for all these conditions. I think it depends on the person. Not everybody has the same risk. It's different, but a lot of people do, because PCOS is a metabolic condition. So you really want to think about being good to your body inside, not just trying to work on the outside symptoms. I would tell people to try and get a baseline of their blood work, find out what your cholesterol is, your triglyceride, your HDL, your LDL, keep track of your blood pressure, check your inflammatory marker, your C-reactive protein. So have a baseline with the medical stuff, and think about, be good to your body. Think about what you can do, like Ginny said, to nourish your body. Adding in foods to your diet, and try to get out of the mentality of the restriction. I can't have this, I can't have that, I can't have that. If you want to have a little pasta, I go for chickpea pasta or like a whole grain pasta if you can. If not, do a little white pasta, but add some salmon to it. Add some olive oil, garlic, and some broccoli. Like, make it be a healthier, more balanced meal. Not only is that helping your insulin resistance, but it's also helping decrease risk of heart disease and decrease in inflammation. Add in some ground flax seeds, get more legumes and beans into your diet, load up on the veggies. So add these healthy foods in, be kind to yourself, work on things like sleep, and do what you can for stress. And then Ginny will talk about movement, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Ginny?
Yeah, we know knowledge is power. Even though we hear all these different things, we get, there's so many people that get scared. I know I was terrified when I kept learning, it could cause this, it can cause that. And then I kind of had to wrap onto that. And then all of a sudden, oh no, now we're jumping into the cause a problem for this and a problem for that. The more we learn, the better we can prepare for the possibility that something happens, but we can also prepare to prevent it. So by adding all these nourishing foods in that are going to help not only just energize your body and make you feel good, it's going to give you a nice balance to be able to perform better. This is a long race. It's a very long race. It's not something where we can jump in right away and go, okay, problem solved, and walk away. Take it bit by bit. I love the idea of the baseline blood work. I love the idea of following up on the blood work. My doctor is fantastic, because we don't do our blood work every year. We do it every 6 months. The change, especially with the exercise, about maybe every 3-4 months or so, you're going to start seeing changes in what's going on there. So every 6 months is a wonderful start if you can convince your doctor to do that for you. But you're going to start seeing the changes on the inside as you move. It doesn't have to be intense activity. Just start moving and do something that you enjoy, that makes your body feel good, that benefits not only your physical health, but benefits your mental health too. Because if you start doing something that it's going to, benefit you physically, but you hate it, it's going to backfire on you. So pick something that you absolutely love, or you want to learn to love, or you want to learn something new. And don't be afraid to try new things, because if you're doing something and it's not working for you, it's okay to change. You don't have to stick with weight training because they say, oh, weight training is the way to go, for PCOS. If you want to try something, just do it. Feel good about it. Use every day to build on what you did in the past.
That. I love that so much. So there's one more thing that I want to ask, but I'm sorry, Martha,
I want to springboard off of what Ginny said for one thing. I liked what you said about like turning this into something positive. I mean, heart disease is the #1 killer of women. And having PCOS may increase your risk of heart disease, but 80% of heart disease is preventable with nutrition and lifestyle. So the fact that you may have an increased risk, you can do a lot more than another person who doesn't have PCOS, who doesn't know about it, will do. And so chances are you could have a lower risk of heart disease because you can get on it now. So I think it's great for everybody who's listening to this, trying to be proactive, learning about your health. And you can prevent a lot of these health conditions that are associated with PCOS. You can greatly decrease your risk of diabetes, pre-diabetes. You can even reverse it sometimes if you have it. You can help prevent heart disease. Even fatty liver can be reversed. So a lot of these things can be reversed. And I think so oftentimes on Instagram, we read all this negative stuff. It's like increased risk of this and increased risk of that. And you feel like a victim, like, what am I going to do? You get paralyzed. But you don't have to get this. So knowledge is power. And like Ginny said, take small steps. Don't try and do everything at once. And you can really prevent most of this stuff from happening. And if you do get high cholesterol and you can't lower it with diet, there are medications. Like, there are things that we can do about it.
Absolutely. And, that reminds me of something else, that there's another thing that all of us can do that is vitally important, which is raising our voices and making sure there is more awareness about PCOS, which I'm going to talk about in a moment with both of you. But there is a question that came in that I want to give an opportunity to answer, which is, should we avoid dairy because of inflammation? And what about gluten?
I love that question, and I will answer that question. Great question. And it's plastered all over the internet that dairy causes inflammation. Like, we don't know that it causes inflammation. If you have an allergy to dairy, absolutely it's going to cause inflammation. If you have a sensitivity to the protein in dairy, yes, it will cause inflammation. But there's nothing special about PCOS and dairy worsening PCOS. There's zero science behind that. So what I tell people is, if you have dairy and you have a problem with it, if you get like really gassy and you get bloated and all that, you might have a lactose intolerance. If you feel really achy and all that, you may have a sensitivity to the protein in dairy. So either don't do dairy, or you could do an A2 dairy. They make it from different cows, and it doesn't have that inflammatory kind of protein. But all dairy is not created equal. Some dairy is very anti-inflammatory. So fermented dairy like kefir or yogurt can actually help decrease inflammation. So we can't lump dairy into this one group telling everybody it's inflammatory. And gluten is the same kind of thing. I mean, if you have celiac disease, you cannot eat gluten. But if you think you have a gluten sensitivity, which some people do, there's no great test to test for it, so I can't tell you how to know. But cut it out for a month or so and see if you feel better. Most people do not have a sensitivity to gluten. And as a matter of fact, studies have even shown that gluten-free diets can cause more inflammation, because some people, they're not really careful on eating whole grain gluten-free products. They're eating more like corn or really highly refined like rice products, not whole grain. So if you don't have an issue with gluten or dairy, you do not need to avoid them.
Right. Now, I just want to ask one more question, because this is, I think, another hot topic in dairy. Full fat for PCOS. Why?
Great question, actually. For PCOS, studies have shown, and these are more like association studies, but full fat is better for PCOS. They're associated with higher rates of ovulation and pregnancy versus skim dairy or fat-free. And that is probably because when you pull the fat off the dairy, you're pulling off more of the female hormones and you're left with more of the androgens in the skim part. So I do tell people, if you're going to have dairy, to do full fat dairy. Definitely. And so you might say, well, there's saturated fat in full fat dairy. What if I have high cholesterol? If I would recommend you don't eat tons of full fat dairy. If you have high cholesterol, definitely do it in moderation.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So one question that I have that I think it's really important, which is not necessarily about this topic, but to me, being an advocate for as long as I have, it's an important topic to me, which is, why is it important for us to raise our voices, to raise awareness for PCOS, and to get involved in things like Heart for PCOS and the upcoming PCOS Challenge, PCOS Advocacy Day on March 2nd. Ginny, I'm going to start with you.
Well, number one, I said before, the more you know, the more that you can proactively going on. But number two is, we know there's just in this area, and the more that you talk about it, the more that you heard about what's going on, the more that you know, the better we are as a whole as a community. You know, when you go to the doctor's office and they don't know what you're talking about, or you know more from being online than going to your doctor, there's a disconnect there. There's definitely a problem. So it's so important to get involved in like this, to volunteer your time, and regardless of whether you think you know a lot or a little, there's opportunities out there to help.
Absolutely. And Martha, you and I are both team captains this year for PCOS Advocacy Day. You have New York, and I'm co-captain with New Jersey and PA. So we're going right up the Eastern Seaboard. So why is it important for people to get involved?
You know what it is? I think so oftentimes, you know, especially on social media, you know, we'll complain that the doctors don't know what they're doing and nobody knows how to help us and the treatment options are terrible, which they are 100%. But unless we talk to the right people and let them know how bad it is, it's not going to change. And so I think PCOS Advocacy Day is a perfect day for us to talk to our Congress people, if you live in the US, and explain, you know, what is PCOS, and some of them just have no clue and they're really interested in learning about it. And as we help kind of share what's going on, and this is a combination of patients who have PCOS and then healthcare practitioners like myself, you know, sharing my story, it opens their eyes, and then they're more likely to sign on to various bills that will help increase funding, you know, spread more awareness of PCOS. That's the only way it's ever going to change, is if we do something like that. So it's an amazing.
I think we just lost Martha there, but yeah, I think where Martha was going with this, hopefully, is that it's really important to share your story, because we get less than 0.1% of funding. We are still up to 70% of people are undiagnosed. It takes almost 5 years for most patients with PCOS to get diagnosed. And the only way that's going to change is if we let people know that change needs to happen. So imperative that everybody share their voices, share their stories. And, you know, a lot of times, the impact of the constituents or the patients telling the story has the most profound effect on making change happen. So don't think that your voice can't change something, because it can. So check it out. I'll have the links in the post for the Instagram video. And I will also have the links to link to Ginny and to link to Martha, so you can get more information and follow up with both of them, because they're amazing people. Love them dearly. They've been through this journey with me for a really long time, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again soon. Please be sure to check out, there's more content on our YouTube channel, on Instagram, on Facebook. We have lives still going throughout the month. We also have an e-zine with over 83 pages of information about PCOS, cardiovascular disease, and cardiometabolic health. So check out all of the free resources that are available in my Instagram bio, in my link tree. Just click on and tap away on all the different resources. Ginny, thank you so much for joining me this evening. And Martha, wherever you are, thank you as well for joining in this evening. Until the next time, everyone, thank you for having a heart for PCOS and joining in our Instagram Live this evening. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.